Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As promised, we are going to go through the second half of the affidavit that was leaked yesterday in the case of the murder case of Gannon Stauch. Just before I begin, can I just please ask if you like what you see, please hit the like button. If you enjoy the channel, if you find it interesting and you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, it'd be much appreciated. And yeah, and even if you don't like what you see, please hit the dislike button. It all helps the algorithms of YouTube, and it just helps to get our information out there and our word out there. So without further ado, I will continue. Now we are at section 123 out of 200. I think we're on page 18 or 19 of 32 pages. And I'm hoping to, in an upcoming live, to get maybe not just myself but a few other people up on panel, and we can discuss the ins and outs of this case and try and piece together everything that we've learned so far, and see where it's going. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. So without further ado, I'm going to pop myself up in the left hand corner and we will continue with the second half of the affidavit. Okay, so as I said, we are on section 123, headed Metro Crime Laboratory Report Case. I have received and viewed Metro Crime Laboratory Report Lab Case, completed by serologist Sherry Holmes. Although I have discussed results related to this DNA testing in other portions of this affidavit, the intention of this section is to provide clarity and eliminate ambiguity of which samples were submitted to the laboratory and which samples were or were not attributable to Gannon Stauch's DNA. Additionally, there is an unknown contributor in some of the DNA profiles that were developed. As mentioned elsewhere in this affidavit, I do not have a biology background, but I am aware that a DNA profile is very accurate. Investigators submitted swabs from Gannon Stauch's toothbrush bristles, toothbrush head, and from a tooth retainer that Al Stauch said belonged to Gannon. DNA buccal swabs, or buccal swabs, were also taken from Gannon's biological father, mother, and from Letecia Stauch. From these samples, DNA profiles for these individuals were developed and used as a comparison for other testing. In summary, Gannon's DNA profile was found from blood samples taken in the garage, on the outside of size 8.5 Nike shoes, and in Gannon's bedroom. Letitia's DNA was recovered from the interior of the size 8.5 Nike shoes. I submit to the court that the lab results tend to corroborate the theory that Ganon was indeed murdered in his bedroom, brought into the garage, and his remains loaded in the Volkswagen Tiguan, subsequently to be disposed of in an unknown location. Just to confirm, as I said yesterday, this affidavit was produced and submitted at the end of February. This was before Gannon's body was found. Of course, as we now know, a few weeks ago, Gannon's body was found in Florida, of all places, nearly 1,400 miles away from his home in Colorado Springs. To be more specific, a serology study was conducted by the Metro Crime Laboratory, and the following samples tested positive for the presence of blood. These samples were also analysed and compared to known DNA profiles of Gannon Stauch, Letecia Stauch, and Albert Stauch. A. Taken from a piece of carpet found inside a carpet roll in the utility room. Found to be a mixture of 3 contributors, at least one of which is male. A DNA profile was not suitable for comparison due to the number of contributors and the complexity of the mixture. As you can see, my cat Ollie has made an appearance, and but that's fine, apart from the fact he's trying to drink my coffee. Sit down, mate. B. Taken from the garage of the Stauch residence, directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. Directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. This DNA profile from the blood is a mixture of two contributors, one of which is male. The major profile matches Gannon Stauch. C. Taken from the garage of the Stauch residence, directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. This DNA profile from the blood is a mixture of two contributors, one of which is male. The major profile matches Gannon Stauch. Kind of repeated there what they've just said. D. Taken from the garage of the Stauch residence, directly under where the rear hatch of the Tiguan when reversed into the garage. This DNA profile from the blood matches Ganon Stauch. Guess it was different samples taken from the same place. E. Taken from the carpet at the base of the garage stairs. A DNA profile could not be developed, but tested presumptively positive for the presence of blood. F. Taken from the blood-stained carpet fibres in Gannon's bedroom. A DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matches the DNA profile of Gannon Stauch. G. Taken from the corner of Gannon's bedroom on the carpet pad by his bed. A DNA profile from the bloodstain matches Gannon Stauch. H. Taken from the electrical outlet cover in Gannon's bedroom by his bed. A DNA profile from bloodstain is a mixture of two individuals, at least one of which was male. The major profile matches the DNA profile of Gannon. I. Taken from the electrical socket in Gannon's bedroom by his bed. A DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matches the DNA profile of Gannon. J. Taken from the back side of the carpet in Gannon's bedroom, near his bed. DNA profile was obtained and DNA profile, or the blood, matches the DNA profile of Gannon. K. Taken from the bloodstain on the top of the foam from the carpet in Gannon's bedroom. DNA profile was obtained from the blood and matches Gannon's DNA. L. Taken from the trunk area of the Volkswagen Tiguan was found to be negative for the presumptive presence of blood. M. Taken from a teal couch pillow in the basement of the Stauch residence was found to be presumptive positive for the presence of blood, but no DNA profile was able to be developed. N. Taken from the outsole of the right Nike shoe. A DNA profile was obtained after swabbing a confirmed blood stain on the outsole of the right size 8.5 Nike shoes and was found to match the DNA profile of Gannon. Furthermore, a DNA profile was obtained from a swab of the inside of the shoe, which matched the DNA profile for Letitia. Basically, there's her trainers, right? Gannon's blood on the outside of her Nike shoes. Okay, next section is the historical cell site location for related cellular telephones. Investigators applied for and were granted search warrants by this court to obtain historical call detail records to include cell site locations of cellular devices known to be utilized by Letitia and Harley. Your affiant has reviewed information from this analysis and learned the following. Historical cell site analysis helps to determine the location of a cellular telephone based on cell tower antenna locations and orientation. Locations are determined by activity of the cellular telephone and represent an approximate area, not an exact location. Different cellular carriers report this information in different formats and fashions. Although it's not exact, I can tell you it is pretty damn accurate. The historical cell site analysis identified unusual activity for Letitia, including potentially disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for several hours. I submit that by disconnecting the phone, Letitia intended to prevent law enforcement from being able to determine her location. So she knew exactly what she was doing. She switched her phone off at very important moments when she knew that she didn't want to be known where she was going. Specifically, this occurred on January 28th, during the evening that she disposed of Ganon's remains. So her phone, during the time that they believe that she disposed of Ganon's remains, on the 28th of January, she'd switched off her phone. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for Letitia's cellular telephone. A physical download was conducted, and investigators were able to recover data inclusive of text messages, call records, the specific times her cell phone was unlocked, battery levels, and other information. In summary, investigators learned that Letitia lied to her employer, her husband, her friends, her daughter, and the children's babysitter. Just lost my place, bear with me. I will not include each and every text message or lie. So yeah, basically, she lied to everybody. And of course she did. She's a pathological liar, isn't she? Additionally, there were messages that would otherwise tend to corroborate her statements about Gannon's whereabouts on the afternoon of January 27th, if in fact he did go to play with his friends. As discussed in other portions of the affidavit, Letitia's story was false and misleading, and these messages were likely sent by her as part of a larger plan to support her initial lies about his disappearance. For example, on January 28th at approximately 05:14 hours, Letitia had a conversation with Stephanie, the children's babysitter, saved in the phone as Stephanie Sitter. There is no indication that Gannon ever went to a doctor, and Letitia never brought that up with investigators. Some, but not all of their conversation is below. So of course it was circulating around social media that Gannon, as we knew, she said that Gannon had gone for a doctor's appointment, which has turned out to be true. She did say that to certain people, but obviously just didn't bring that up with the investigators. So the conversation is hard to read, but it's on the 28th. It's with the babysitter. This is presumably just Letitia's, maybe Stephanie's comments as well. The comments are, this happened at after 3:30. We talked to him then and told him to be home by 6. Someone posted he wasn't at school either. He had to go to doctor for his stomach, but he was here in the afternoon. Where did he say he was at? Honestly, I don't keep up with friends. So she told the babysitter that he had to go doctors for his stomach. But as law enforcement have said, there's no indication that Gannon ever went to a doctor, which is what most people suspected anyway. That would have been so easy for them to confirm. Letitia made statements to investigators via text message that could be considered exculpatory in nature, related to the presence of blood in the basement of their residence, as seen in the below text message. I have talked with investigators that were inside the Stauch residence on January 27th, 28th, 29th. There was no odour of smoke and no evidence of smoke. In fact, one detective noted the basement smelled like coconut and was very pleasant. Furthermore, I know that burns oftentimes do not produce wounds that bleed profusely. So this is a text message. It doesn't actually say who it's to. It's just got participants, Nicole, owner. I don't quite know. But the message anyway reads, the text of the message reads, when we came back inside from the smoke, there was blood on both of us. I didn't know what to do. I was scared I would get fussed out about it. and I didn't know if he should go to the doctor. I just kept trying to add the candle thing, but Albert kept saying it was small and minor. I was scared the basement was smoky, and when I threw the covers on everything, we both had blood. You don't understand how hard it is to be a stepmom. Okay, Letitia. The below message appears to contain instructions from Letitia to Harley to purchase carpet powder, baking soda, trash bags on or about January 27th, 4:52 p.m. These messages are important because investigators believe the purpose of these items was to clean up blood from the murder of Ganon. This text message was also referred above. So it was a message to her daughter Harley, wasn't it? Outgoing. Carpet, powders, two things, baking soda, trash bags. As we know in the first part that we read yesterday, Letitia texted her daughter Harley to buy these particular items that are commonly used in trying to clean up blood and clean up crime scenes. Harley bought these items. Clearly, she innocently bought these items. There's nothing in there to suggest that Harley knew anything about what happened to Ganon. I think that's important to make that clear. Investigators also recovered limited GPS and location data from Letitia's phone. There are crucial time periods, such as the evening on January 28th, that investigators were not able to recover location history because Letitia disconnected her phone from the cellular network or turned the phone off. Letitia stored several written notes within her iPhone. The majority of these notes contained what appeared to be usernames, passwords, or insurance information. There were several notes that appeared to reference her unhappiness in the relationship and shed some light on potential household instability. Okay, the next section is headed Letitia's internet activity between January 25th and 29th. I was able to review some, but possibly not all, of the stored internet search history and the websites visited, recovered from the forensic physical download and search of Letitia's iPhone. Between the dates of January 25th to 28th, Letitia viewed websites associated with searching for a job in states other than Colorado, such as Los Angeles, California, Orlando, Florida, Pensacola Beach, and Fort Lauderdale. Letitia also viewed apartments and two-bedroom rental properties in Florida. Additionally, she visited a moving cost calculator website. Letitia's internet activity also captured the search for a rental car and visited the website Priceline.com on January 28th at or about 08:17 hours. I submit this timing is consistent with the acquisition of the Kia Rio mentioned in this affidavit. Letitia appeared to use Google, a popular online search engine. I have included some of her queries to Google, along with the date and approximate time of the search. Not all of her Google searches are included below. I submit that Letitia's search history is important because the history suggests that she might have been struggling as a step-parent, and additionally suggests that she was not happily married to Mr. Stauch, Al. While her search history alone does not provide motive to murder Ganon, it does shed light on her inquisitive thoughts of her position with the family, memorialized in Google's search engine. We also direct the court's attention to the way Letitia's search terms are sometimes entered. Letitia hits the dot or full stop key instead of the space key multiple times while searching the internet in approximately 44% of the searches listed below. So on a phone, I know it's different on a laptop, but on a phone keypad you'll find the space bar is right next to the full stop. I think the full stop's just to the right of the search button if you have a look on your phone when you're typing in something in a text message or on Google search or whatever on your mobile phone, and it pops up the virtual keypad. You'll find that the space is right next to the dot. And what they're saying, basically, she has a habit of, it appears, instead of hitting the space bar, she's hitting the full stop. And that's obviously become a clear trait to them, something that she does. And that became important in the investigation because some of the searches on Gannon's phone also have these dots in where she's mishit the space key and hit the dot. So from there, they've kind of drawn a picture to say, well, it looks like it must be her who has put these searches into Gannon's phone, because the same thing was happening on there. It'd be strange for two people, wouldn't it, to have that same, way of missing keys like that. That would be, chances of that would be one in thousands. This will be significant during the discussion of a search conducted on Gannon's phone, as it says here, and will be further discussed below. There are other searches on Leticia's phone that use a full stop. An additional search history over a longer time span does exist that is not listed below. So here we have some of Leticia's Google searches from the 25th of January through to 28th. I think you're going to find some of these extremely interesting, and it certainly gives an insight into her state of mind. It's weird reading them. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like she left a pattern, a record of what. It's almost like she knew people were going to read these when I were reading these. It's almost like she knew they were going to look through this and trace this. It's almost like she's giving you a story of how she feels. It's very odd. Okay, so I'll just go through the searches. They start from the 25th, they progressively go up to the 28th. So from the 25th of January, sort of from 12 p.m. up to 8 p.m. Find real military singles. Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. So these are the actual search text strings that she's put into the Google search box. I'm overdoing all the work for my stepkids and their mum doesn't help. Mum advice from stepmum. If you aren't involved in your kid's life, you are shitty. My husband's ex-wife does nothing for her kids. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a card since I raised her kids. And in here you've got I.raised.her.kids, where she's been missing the spacebar, hitting the full stop. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a Valentine's card since I.raised.her.kids. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a Valentine's card since I.raised.her.kids. Same search. One day some people will wish they treated you differently. Well, actually, she spelled differently wrong there. One day some people will wish they treated you differently. She spelled it correct there. She's obviously amended it. Why should my husband choose me over family? Find me a rich guy who wants me to take care of his kids. Find a guy who wants me to take care of his kids and get paid. I'm just going to leave out the dots, guys, because you know what I mean. It's a lot. 44% of these have got, she's put dots in instead of spaces. Find a guy who wants me to take care of his kids and get paid. It's crappy. Some parents don't care for their kids or buy them presents. Parents are those who put their kids before their nails. Parents are those who put their kids before their nails. Again. My son burned the carpet. How do I fix it? This is on the 27th now. Will humidifier help if exposed to smoke? Smoke effects. Will humidifier help? Smoke from fire effects. Will humidifier help? Colorado law for kids starting probably means staying at home. School is out. Is it okay for my kid to stay home alone? Son is sick, but I have to go to work. Son's sick. Can he stay home? Suede repair kit for sofa. El Paso Sheriff's Office number. What is the process for our runaway child? Police steps for our runaway. Police steps for our missing child. Today's flight. OKC to CDS or COS. Can Nintendo find my Switch? CarNet Volkswagen. They are asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong. So from the 27th, from the 27th, which obviously was a key day, it's believed that that's the day that she killed Ganon. So just to reiterate, you've got my son burned the carpet. How do I fix it? 12:09 a.m. So 9 minutes past midnight on the 27th. 12:42 a.m. Will humidifier help if it's exposed to smoke? 12:43 a.m. Smoke effects. Will humidifier help? 12:43 a.m. Smoke from fire effects. Will humidifier help? Again. 12:55. Colorado law for kids staying at home. 12:57 a.m. School is out. Is it okay for my kids to stay home alone? 1:01 a.m. Son is sick, but I have to go to work. 1:03 a.m. Son's sick. Can he stay home? 4:40 a.m. Suede repair kit for sofa. 6:54 a.m. El Paso Sheriff's Office number. So that's 6:54 p.m. 27th. El Paso Sheriff's Office number. 28th now, day after. 4:15 a.m. What is the process for our runaway child? 4:16 a.m. Police steps for our runaway. 4:16 a.m. Police steps for our missing child. 4:36 a.m. Today's flight. I think it's OKC to COS or CDS. 12:57 a.m. Can Nintendo find my Switch? That's 12:57 p.m. 28th, 4:18 p.m. CarNet Volkswagen. 4:19 p.m. 28th. They are asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong. So that's Letitia's search activity from her iPhone through Google from the 25th of January, 12:16 hours to the 28th, 16:19 hours. Interesting, eh? Investigators were also able to recover internet search history that was deleted from Letitia's phone. No time and date association was located with the data, and I can only ascertain that the searches were conducted prior to the EPSO seizing Letitia's phone on January 29th. Some, but not all, of the search history is included below. Some of the other deleted search terms included travel planning, shopping, job searches, and other seemingly innocent activity. I have not purposely left out any particular search that would be exculpatory in nature, and I am not intending to portray that all of Letitia's deleted searches were nefarious in nature. So these are deleted searches from her phone. Find me a new husband book. I feel like I'm just a nanny, not a stepmom. Husband uses me to babysit his kids. Are there any free money to move away from bad situation? My husband never posts about me but does everything else. My husband only cleans up for the army, not me. I'm just a glorified babysitter. Find a new husband. Sent my husband sexual messages and he ignores them. Make my husband want me more. I feel like my husband uses me to babysit his kid. Find a guy without kids. As I say, there's no date information on there, but they are deleted internet searches from Letitia's phone that they found. Okay, next section is headed Letecia Stauch's consciousness of guilt. During the first 24 to 48 hours surrounding the disappearance of a child, it is reasonable that an assumingly innocent parent or step-parent would be contributing to search efforts and fully participating in the effort to recover the child. In the 24 to 48 hours surrounding Ganon's disappearance, Letitia rented a vehicle, turned her cell phone off for approximately 4 hours on the evening of January 28th, washed her Tiguan immediately prior to coming to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for an interview, evaded law enforcement's attempts to conduct a more in-depth interview, and did not participate in the search for Ganon. On Tuesday, January 28th, between 08:48 and 0:54 hours, Letitia instructed Harley to pull your car in the garage via text message, presumably to temporarily cover up any potential evidence left behind. To be clear, Harley has her own vehicle that was mentioned above, specifically a Volkswagen Jetta. It's a white Jetta. On January 28th, at approximately 16:04 to 16:17 hours, investigators asked Letitia for Gannon's toothbrush to recover his DNA. At or about 16:19 hours, Letitia did a search in her internet browser of "They are asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong." At or about 16:31 to 16:33 hours, Letitia has a text conversation with Al. Letitia says something isn't right. I think they are hiding something. Al says, who? The police? Letitia says, yes, they asked for toothbrushes. Al says, what do you think they're hiding? Also on January 28th, at or about 22:45 hours, Letitia made a statement to investigators via text message. At the time of this statement, Ganon had been missing for approximately 27 hours, and Letitia believed she was a subject in his disappearance without any prior prompting from law enforcement or notification of such. I think you call that a guilty conscience, don't you? So Letitia said in text message to investigators, "What do you want from me? Because I have nothing. One of your very own leaked to me what you guys were doing. I did nothing and or am being set up. I'm not really even sure, other than being told that by another blue with El Paso. I was told I couldn't go home to sleep, and on top of that, men were sent to a home with a minor female, and she was forced to stay there, not to even leave for food. Every conversation that's said, even at this moment, I can hear inside. What do you want from me?" The detective basically simply replied, "Come in to talk to me. I would just like information to find Ganon." After the El Paso Sheriff's Office investigators seized Letitia's Volkswagen Tiguan on January 29th, she obtained a 2020 Nissan Altima. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant by this court to install a GPS tracker on the vehicle. Investigators monitored this tracking device, which provided particularly useful information on January 31st. So this is 4 days after Ganon disappeared. A map with some of this data is included below. This information will be discussed below and relates to the area north of Palmer Lake and along Highway 105S Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. In summary, investigators believe Letitia utilized the rented Nissan Altima to return to the area in which she disposed of Ganon's body. Indeed, investigators recovered a piece of particle board from this area with Ganon's blood on it. This information will be discussed below in more detail. So it's basically got a map there of the North Palmer Lake area in Douglas County. What we're going to do, I've got coordinates and stuff there, so I'll be able to pull up that exact location and stuff on Google Maps when we discuss this case further going forward. We'll be able to look exactly where on their Google Map where they have conducted their search. We knew roughly, but that should be able to give us a more precise picture. The fact Letitia came back to this area on January 31st is significant, and investigators have not uncovered any evidence that Letitia has family or friends that live in that area, or any legitimate reason for her presence in that area, other than to dispose of incriminating evidence. I believe, didn't she try and make up a little lie? She said there was an accident and she had to take that exit or something. She had to take a different route. I submit a reasonable theory for the fact Letitia returned to this area based on the information presented in this affidavit as follows. Letitia disposed of Gannon's remains at night time. So that was, they believe, the 28th, and likely was nervous about the location that she chose, and she may not have even remembered exactly where she dumped Gannon's remains. Investigators believe that on January 31st, she went back to the area to view the area while sunlight was available to ensure no evidence was viewable from the road, to ensure his remains were adequately covered to prevent detection, and to see if any law enforcement was in the area. Of course, we know they did look in that area, and obviously they found that board. Obviously they didn't find Gannon's remains there, so I'm going to need to look at that a bit closer there, whether he was actually, they believe he was there when they were looking. That's interesting. Or whether she had at that point moved him. Gonna have to look at that further. The exploitation of the Volkswagen Tiguan data. So this is T's own black vehicle that she had. Investigators were able to remove a computer chip from Letitia's Volkswagen Tiguan, which was examined by the FBI. The FBI was able to recover data, hereinafter raw data, which included but is not limited to the estimated location of the vehicle, specifically relating to the evening of January 28th and the morning of January 29th. The raw data has not been scientifically evaluated, and the raw data that was provided was not portrayed to be an exact representation of the vehicle's activities. Additionally, I've been told the raw data does have particular limitations, including the inability to show the exact location of the vehicle. For example, if the Tiguan was taken off-road, raw data may not show that and display the estimated location. Furthermore, the estimated location may have some degree of fluctuation in accuracy, estimated to be approximately 50 to 100 meters. That's still pretty damn close though, isn't it? 50 to 100 meters. FBI agents, including Special Agent Donati, took steps to verify and corroborate the data recovered from the Tiguan. In summary, Donati was able to take some of the raw data, including location and timestamp, and compare it to other evidence. As with other forensic evidence discussed in this affidavit, investigators believe it to be reliable. For example, the Tiguan raw data placed the Tiguan leaving the Colorado Springs airport just after 1900 hours on the 28th. This matched the timestamp of the 28th Colorado Springs airport parking receipt to the Tiguan data. The Tiguan raw data indicated the Tiguan stopped near a King Soopers parking lot for approximately 10 minutes after leaving the airport between 2008 and 2018. Donati was able to review video surveillance footage from that King Soopers, which indeed showed a dark SUV matching the description of the Tiguan sitting in the parking lot during that same time period. Other footage, including footage from a Wendy's restaurant in a separate location, helped to further corroborate the raw data. Basically, it backs up the integrity of that, the data from that they got from her car. It's pretty accurate. Of significant importance, the raw data showed the Tiguan in the area of Highway 105, South Perry Park Road, between 21:15 and 21:30 hours on January 28th. And I have included a map depicting that area, that data. The raw data also indicated that Tiguan stopped for approximately 5 minutes in an area proximate to the recovery of Ganon's blood on February 15th. This is the same area Letitia likely drove to in her Nissan Altima rental vehicle on 31st of January. The recovery of Ganon's blood in this area is discussed below. Okay, so they found the Ganon's blood on the piece of wood by Highway 105 on February 15th, according to this. Of course, she obviously must have moved Ganon's body long before then onto wherever she took it to the next step on her 1400 travel to Florida. Unbelievable, isn't it? He was found so far away. I can't get my head around that. Investigators were also able to compare Letitia's historical cell site information, including NELOS data, against the Tiguan's raw data, and found no reason to believe that Letitia was not the driver of the Tiguan on January 28th. Of course, that's the other thing they have to prove, isn't it, with a vehicle, is who was driving. And I don't want any doubt in that. So this is the continued evolution now of Letitia's stories. Investigators conducted several consensually monitored telephone calls with Al. Specifically, Al, at the direction of law enforcement, communicated with Letitia via telephone and email. These communications have been recorded, interesting, and memorialized, and consisted of hours of recorded conversation. I will not provide a transcription of these calls, but will summarize the importance of particular changes in Letitia's story, and will also include exculpatory information related to Letitia's statements. Letitia never admitted to killing Ganon, but here we get to see how her story changed a zillion times in ridiculous manners. For the purposes of refreshing the court, here is a summary of some of Letitia's statements, whether to law enforcement, directly through the media, and or to Al in recorded email and voice communications. On January 27th, Letitia stated Ganon left to play at a friend's house and did not come home at 1800 hours like he was supposed to. On January 29th, Letitia stated she was held at gunpoint, raped, and Ganon was abducted by her rapist. Eduardo, wasn't it? I think. Within Letitia's falsehoods, there are details corroborated by physical evidence that would be near impossible to know without being intimately involved in the murder. Letitia has made statements to explain blood on the walls in Ganon's bedroom, blood on the rear bumper of the Tiguan, and blood in the garage of the Stauch residence. Details of the location of blood evidence has not been released to the media nor to Letitia, and has been closely held throughout this investigation. Furthermore, Letitia has continued to provide alibis for her physical locations not previously disclosed to investigators. Her statements continue to evolve in a dramatic way and are all remarkably different from the original report to El Paso Sheriff's Office. So the fact that she was trying to cover up or make up stories for why they would have found blood. No one had even mentioned to her or anyone that they'd found any blood. So how does she know that they would have found blood? That's what they're basically saying. I guess it just shows the importance, doesn't it, of protecting the integrity of a case. But the fact that they didn't leak that information out, the fact that she then started blabbing about it all over social media, she basically put her foot in it. They basically let her hang herself, didn't they? The way that she kept blabbing, they must have been loving that when she kept blabbing on social media, because she was digging herself deeper and deeper into it. The majority of the conversations between Letitia and Al began around February 13th. Over several days, Leticia's story continued to change. During a phone call on February 13th, Letitia stated that Ganon was burned by a candle to the point that his skin bubbled, and that Ganon peeled the burns off and wiped blood on his bedroom wall. Al did not ask about blood on the walls of his room during this call. The fact she provided information about blood on the wall likely indicates her knowledge of the murder scene. On February 14th, Letitia had an additional conversation with Al and provided 4 additional versions of Ganon's disappearance. Story 1. When El Paso County Sheriff's Office came to the house on January 27th, the abductor was still in her residence, and that she tried to signal to the deputies that there was somebody in the residence. It should be noted that the deputies checked the entirety of the house and no additional person was located during that search. Story 2. She was raped by Quincy Brown at her residence, and Brown abducted Ganon. She knew Brown's identity because she saw a paper and his identification card fall out of his pocket that had his name on it. Letitia sent a photograph of Quincy Brown to Al via text message. It is noted that this photograph mirrored images online wherein Quincy Brown was listed as a most wanted suspect, discussed below. Quincy Brown followed her from Petco and at some point was laying in the middle of the road in front of her car. When Letitia stopped to avoid running the man over, he jumped into her car and made her take him home and then raped her. Letitia and Ganon, this is story 4 now. Letitia and Ganon were near County Line Road, Highway 105, in northern El Paso County on January 27th. Ganon was riding a bicycle in that area and fell off, hit his head, and was then abducted by Quincy Brown. In this version of events, Quincy Brown was driven by a man named Terrence. That's unreal. That's just unreal. She's found some guy off the internet who's on the most wanted list. Quincy Brown. We're going to have to look him up. And used him as a story. It's unreal. The February 14th story 4, which we just said, has several interesting considerations. During the period of February 12th to 14th, it was public knowledge by virtue of media coverage that investigators were searching for Ganon in the area of Highway 105 in southern Douglas County. Letitia brought this location up on her own without prompt during a conversation and provided an alibi for why she was in that area. Letitia was adamant that investigators' efforts to search for Ganon in that area would be futile. This area turned out to be significant based on the Tiguan's location on January 28th, and that Ganon's blood was found in this area. Furthermore, as mentioned above, Letitia drove through the same area in her Nissan Altima rental vehicle on January 31st. I submit that based on raw data retrieved from the Tiguan, Letitia was likely in the area of Highway 105 on the evening of January 28th, and Ganon's remains were dumped in the vicinity of that area. Letitia's story lays a foundation for a reason why investigators may locate Ganon's body with head trauma. On February 15th, Letitia provided additional conflicting stories to Al, including that the story she told Al about Ganon falling off the bike was a lie because it was what she believed he wanted to hear. Letitia stated the blood in the corner of Ganon's room was a combination of hers and Ganon's. In this explanation, she stated that the abductor anally penetrated both her and Ganon with an object. Additionally, she was tied up at some point in the abduction, and the abductor was still present during the El Paso Sheriff's Office visit that night. Oh, just a facepalm moment, isn't it? You can just see the investigator's eyes rolling in the back of their heads, can't you? She's coming out of this stuff. Now, the next section, it does just mention about this guy called Quincy Brown. He's a real person. He's age 37. He was listed on El Paso County's most wanted list on February 10th. It's just saying here his photo was on KKTV's news website. And the photo appears to be exactly the same photo that Letitia sent to Al. So apparently he had outstanding arrest warrants for failure to register as a sex offender and failure to appear. So she's used this guy, Quincy Brown, who she's found off her most wanted list, and tried to say that this guy had raped her and abducted Ganon. I find that unbelievable. Okay, we're nearly there, guys. Now it's just going on about Ganon's blood being located in Douglas County on February 15th, as I said earlier. As mentioned above, investigators began to focus a search effort for Ganon's remains in the area of Highway 105, Perry Park Road in Douglas County on February 12th. There is not an exact address to reference due to the rural nature of the area. This particular location was deemed important based on the raw data from the Tiguan on January 28th and the location data from her rental vehicle on January 31st. Of course, they had the both same location on both. On February 15th, searchers located a piece of particle board. During that search, the particle board had a stain that appeared to be consistent with blood, and is pictured below. I've added a red circle to indicate location of the blood stain. The board was collected by the FBI Evidence Response Team and transported to the Metro Crime Lab on the 15th of Feb. An initial test revealed a positive presumptive result for the presence of human or high primate blood. Further testing was conducted, and a DNA profile was developed and compared to Ganon's on February 16th. That profile matched the DNA profile of Ganon and is documented in the Metro Crime Lab report. And then there was a picture. It's very difficult to see, guys, but I think it's a section here. I remember to see in the sort of left side of the board. They found blood. The reasonable explanation for the discovery of this board with Ganon's blood on it is that Letitia used this particle board during the disposal of Ganon's remains. The area in which the particle board was found is rural and the ground was covered by approximately 6 to 12 inches of snow. Additionally, as the area is rural in nature, it is likely populated by wildlife, including predators such as bear, coyotes and mountain lions. Ganon's remains have not been located, and while investigators will continue to search the area, it is possible those remains have since been scattered since January 28th. Of course, what we do know now is that they were found a few weeks ago in Florida in a suitcase. We don't have any further details on that. There's been no autopsy results released yet. We don't know what evidence they've gathered from Ganon's remains or what condition they were in. The below map depicts the area where the board was recovered, compared with raw data from the Tiguan, which was idling for approximately 5 minutes on January 28th, and the GPS tracker from the data from the Altima. It's an Altima. So that it's very difficult to see on here, but I don't know if you can see. Okay, let me just see. I don't know if I can add my cursor to this. 1 second, I might be able to. Okay, hopefully it's capturing that. So yeah, so this here is where the board was found. And I think this is where they think the vehicle was idling, one of the vehicles. It's very difficult to make out. Very difficult to make that out. Additionally, investigators were granted a pen register trap and trace device order, GPS pings and cell site sector information. This is wiretap interceptions. Investigators monitored Letitia's telephone and recorded hours of communication between Letitia and others. Each and every communication intercepted is not included in this affidavit. As during other portions of the investigation, Letitia continued to provide different stories to different people about Ganon's disappearance. Letitia provided false information to her sister and other family members. She produced multiple different stories of what happened to Ganon. On February 16th, a call at about 1928 hours, Letitia told a female, believed to be Tila Cummings, that she has been giving out numerous false stories because she knows he will not believe anything she says. On February 17th call, at about 13:53 hours, Letitia told a female, believed to be associated with Laura Abernathy, no idea who she is, that she was thinking about flying out to Colorado to take a lie detector test to prove her innocence. During that call, she stated, "They think I'm still in Colorado." On another call, February 17th at or about 16:11 hours, sorry, just lost my place. Letitia told an unknown female that she is going to take a lie detector test, but that the test is not admissible in court and no law enforcement would be present. On February 18th call, at about 10:14 hours, Letitia called, and there's a specific number there. I conducted a research on that phone number and learned that it was associated with fakepolygraph.com. Now that's a real website, guys, you can go to www.fakepolygraph.com. During that call, Letitia stated she never got a confirmation for a test that she paid for. Letitia provided the spelling of her name, and before disconnecting the call, the unknown male stated that he would resend her the results to her email. I viewed the website fakepolygraph.com and found the following information. So you can actually pay for a fake polygraph test online for all the good that that's going to do. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Also on February 18th, after about 11:16 hours, Letitia again called the fakepolygraph.com. During this call, Letitia inquired about an email that she received. The unknown male stated her report was blocked by management based on the content of the questions, and stated that with any illegal activities, they reserve the right to not send the report. Letitia's response was the following: "What do you do now? Just delete it and go on about life and keep the money?" The male said, "Yes, we do indeed." Letitia said, "Okay, I gotcha, thank you, goodbye." Investigations contacted Luke Devlin utilising the phone number of fakepolygraph.com that Letitia called. Mr. Devlin provided information to investigators, including the questions and answers that Letitia had been dumb enough to provide, I think you should say. Letitia provided the following questions and the answers that were supposed to be truthful to fakepolygraph.com. Do you intend to answer these questions regarding your stepson truthfully? Yes. Is your birthday August 4th, 1983? Yes. Did you participate in any way in causing harm to your stepson? No. Did your stepson return with you to your home? Yes. Did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? No. I submit to the court that if Letitia had nothing to hide, she would not have to pay for fake polygraph results. Based on data collected by the FBI and reported in the Journal of Forensic Science, I learned that in over 71% of homicide cases that involve false reporting, the reporting party is responsible for the murder. To be clear, this statistic is not being provided as sole probable cause for the requested warrant, but as an additional fact to be combined with others listed in this affidavit. Based on Letitia's internet history, it is reasonable to believe that she was unhappily married to Al and had some degree of resentment towards the family as a step-parent. Furthermore, days before Gannon's murder, Letitia appeared to be researching a move to another state to a 2-bedroom apartment. Okay, this is a conclusion now. Letitia has not provided a fully truthful statement to investigators at any point during this investigation, particularly regarding the circumstances of Gannon's disappearance. This would reasonably be suspected activity of an individual that committed the crime under investigation, namely murder. Within approximately 24 hours of Gannon being reported missing, and without external prompt, Letitia made claims to law enforcement that she was being set up. Initially, Letitia said Gannon was playing with a neighborhood friend between approximately 15:15 hours and 1600 hours and was expected home at 1800 hours. Within a few days, Letitia changed her story to label herself as a victim of rape, felony menacing with a weapon, and assault, resulting in Gannon's abduction by her rapist. Her stories continued to evolve to include a new location of Gannon's disappearance, over 30 miles away, several completely different sets of circumstances, and unprompted explanations for why Gannon's blood would be found by investigators in key locations. Letitia was unable to provide a logical reason why she rented another vehicle while she still had access to the Tiguan. Based on these facts, it was likely because it contained the remains of or evidence of Gannon's remains, based on positive reactions to luminol in the Tiguan on the bumper, indicating the likely presence of blood on the rear tailgate. A suspected blood sample from the interior of the trunk area returned a negative result for the presumptive presence of blood. Gannon's mattress has a large red stain on it that is consistent with blood. Based on the orientation of the mattress in the room, it appears that is where Gannon's head and upper torso would have been. Below that same area, a substance that was confirmed as blood by the Metro Crime Lab soaked through the carpet, the pad, and stained the concrete. This blood matches the DNA profile for Gannon. In this same area, blood samples taken from the wall, namely an electrical outlet, were also confirmed to match Gannon's DNA profile. Gannon's blood again matched to his DNA profile was also found on a piece of particle board in the area of Highway 105 in Douglas County, Colorado. This particular area is consistent with Letitia's travels on January 28th and January 31st, based on GPS tracker locations of her Nissan Altima rental vehicle and raw data from the Tiguan. During her stories to Al, without prompt, Letitia provided explanations for why blood would be found on Gannon's bedroom wall. Other than Letitia being present for Gannon's murder and being present for the cleaning of the murder scene, There is no reasonable explanation for how Letitia would know there was blood on Gannon's wall, as that evidence has not been released to the media, or hadn't at that time. Again, without prompt, Letitia provided an alibi for why she was in the area where the particle board was recovered. As we know, she liked making up her little alibis for everything, didn't she? By combining cell tower data, reviewing video surveillance and home security system logs, investigators believe, based on the evidence, the only 3 individuals with access to Gannon on the afternoon of January 27th were Letitia, Harley and 8-year-old Lena. With the exception of Lena, who is not considered a suspect, it appears nobody other than Letitia was with Gannon at the Stauch residence between the hours of approximately 14:16 and 17:34 hours on January 27th, when investigators suspect Letitia murdered Gannon. Gannon's been missing for approximately 4 weeks. That's from when this was put together, and there has been national news attention on major networks related to his disappearance. Local efforts, including posters, news coverage, search teams, and social media postings, have also failed to locate Gannon. Aerial assets, infrared technology, and other extraordinary methods have been deployed to help locate Gannon. Over 200 volunteers have helped to search for Gannon, comprising thousands of man-hours in several different locations. Additionally, although the El Paso Sheriff's Office has received hundreds of tips, nobody has provided information that has led to Gannon's location. His family and friends have not heard from him, and Gannon is only 11 years old, with no financial resources. Letitia was the last person to see Gannon alive. Investigators have not located Gannon's remains at this point in time, although the search continues. As additional time increases without locating Gannon, the more likely it is that Gannon's not alive. Based on the facts set forth above, I submit probable cause exists to believe that on or about January 27th, 2020, within the state of Colorado and within El Paso County, Letecia Stauch committed the offences in violation of Colorado revised statutes to include murder in the first degree, child under 12, position of trust, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. Of course, we know they've since added charges since then with the use of the gun, possible use of a knife, possible use of blunt instrument. I think there was numerous other charges added since this affidavit was put together. As of course we know, she's now been arrested on allegedly on suspicion of first degree murder. Facts in that affidavit facts are certainly built up against her, haven't they? Whether they will make a plea to try and save it going to a trial, who knows? All we can hope for really is that full justice is served. I mean, that woman is clearly extremely disturbed. She's clearly extremely evil stepmother, if ever there was one. So let's hope the full force of justice is brought upon her. Well, thanks for listening, guys. That completes the affidavit, the leaked affidavit yesterday in the Gannon Stauch case. As I say, we're going to be continuing to look at this case. We're going to be continuing to try and piece everything together. And hopefully on one of the upcoming lives, we'll have a few of the team up on panel, hopefully, and we'll be discussing the case and trying to, as I say, piece things together. Of course, this doesn't take into account the fact that Ganon was recovered in Gannon's body was discovered in Florida. This was put together at the end of February. It's going to be a lot more, obviously, that needs to be put together in this case. So we will, I'm sure, be going over that soon. So just to say, if you did like this video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you enjoy what we do here, then please hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell just so you know when we post and when we go live. But just to say again, thanks for watching and stay safe.